Welcome to episode 48 of the Arctic Crafts podcast. My name is Bente and I'm coming to you from Vesterålen, northern Norway, where I live with my husband and 3 cats. You can find me on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, on Facebook and Etsy as Arctic Crafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as Arctic Crafts 65. I also have a group on Ravelry where you can enter make-alongs, giveaways, and you can also see the show notes for my podcast episodes. The show notes is of course also down in the description box. But if you have questions or comments to the episode, you might put them in Ravelry instead of in the description box, especially if you have questions. I also have a Ko-fi page where you can buy me a cup of coffee to help me pay for equipment for the podcast. You can also help me pay for postage, for shipping, for prices and buying prices. I'm going to Tromsø during winter break and they have an amazing yarn store, and I was thinking of getting prices for the podcast there. I would also appreciate if any makers watching this feel like they want to donate prices to the podcast. If you do, please contact me on Instagram. I'm back on my Mac with my webcam and everything because I got my Mac back. That was a fun way of putting it, Mac back. So I hope I can edit this in a proper manner afterwards. The last 2 episodes I did on my iPad. The recording is one thing, but the edit was a pain. So I'm back to my normal edit this time, hopefully. We're having a nice winter weather today. The sun is back and I'm actually recording with natural light. From now on, that will be my light source for the podcasts. Unless I have to record in the evening, then I have to use artificial light, of course. For the time being, at least. During summer, we have sun all day, 24 hours a day. Nothing else has happened except for me doing my taxes. I thought I would get away with just 1 day, but as it happens, I almost spent 3 days doing my taxes and inventory this week. So I haven't been able to dye a lot. Last week I got some dyeing done, but this week I only had 1 day and that was for a custom order. So nothing much to show and a small update on Sunday. But the shop there's loads of yarn in the shop, so I'm not panicking because I haven't done a lot of dyeing. And my son is coming home on Sunday to stay with us for a week. So I was planning on taking next week off because he's home. But then again, he's almost 26. He's a grown man, so he can entertain himself while I'm dyeing. He was talking about bringing his PlayStation, so I guess he can entertain himself. And the really nice thing, by the way, I know my hair looks a mess, but I'm finally going to the hairdresser. On Tuesday, I'm going to fix my hair. So the next time you see me, I'll hopefully look a bit better than this. What I was going to say was, I'm already going out on tangents. He's coming home on Sunday, and Sunday is both Valentine's Day and Mother's Day here in Norway. The reason why we have Mother's Day in February, the second Sunday of February in Norway, is because otherwise it would clash with May 17th sometimes. So, because if it was the second Sunday of May, it would interfere with May 17th, and I guess they didn't want that. So The second Sunday of February is Mother's Day, and the second Sunday of November is Father's Day. That's how we do it in Norway. And nothing else, I think. I haven't done a lot of knitting. I'll explain why a bit later. I've fallen down a rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole is weaving. And when I'm going to show you everything about that when I'm starting with my whips. But we can start talking about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my pink Fizz, which is also an FO, and I just had to wear this because this is, I think, my favorite sweater of all the sweaters I've knit. Until I knit my next sweater, then that will be my favorite probably, because my newest sweater is always my favorite. This is knit in drop snor, which is a wool alpaca blend, and it's insanely soft. And even though I kept sneezing when I knit this, probably the alpaca fibers, it doesn't do anything to me while I'm wearing it. So I've decided to knit more sweaters in this yarn, and it's a budget-friendly yarn as well. And I'm also wearing my Bed of Roses knitting jewelry. This was a birthday present from myself to myself in, I think it was 2019. And I only use this as jewelry because I have so many stitch markers. I've used it as stitch markers once because I needed a stitch marker and I took one of these off. But I basically use it as jewelry. I don't want to lose any of the stitch markers, and I've been considering buying more from Bed of Roses because she is so talented and these are so beautiful. I was thinking of buying myself a silver one. I might for my birthday this year too, but that's not until September, so I might buy myself something before then. But now I've bought myself a loom, so maybe not. So that's the first of my FOs that I'm also wearing. And I've been on a kind of a sock kick. So I have 3 pairs of socks finished. I have these. Those are knit in my Pop Rocks colorway. It's a sock set. And the pattern is Shell Cove by K. Jones. I took this sock set for myself because I didn't like the way the speckles were distributed in the finished skein. I know this is hand dyed, so some of you might also get this speckle because 50-gram skeins are tiny, and I didn't want too many speckles, so that can sometimes happen when you speckle. So, but if you buy hand-dyed yarn, you know that the socks might look a tiny bit different. And this is another finished object. These have been on my needles for ages. I finally finished them. I decided I had to finish them. These are the DunBroch socks by K. Jones of the Bakery Bears. And these are knit in Nora George yarns, her Corriedale sock in the colorway. And I actually put my show notes where I can't reach them. I'll be right back, and I'm back. I've got my show notes. I was telling you about the yarn. It was the DunBroch socks by K. Jones of the Bakery Bear. And the sock is, and the yarn is Nora George Corriedale sock in Plum Blossom. See, when I have my show notes, I remember everything, but I have to have my show notes. So maybe I'm not remembering, maybe I'm just reading. And these are the second pair of my rhyFlower Knits sock club for 2021. It was a gift from my lovely friend Sue in Canada, and it's called Night at the Movies. And every month you have a pattern inspired by a movie. And this pattern is called Dale, and I'm not sure what movie that is, but I'll put it down there on the screen. Last month's was Footloose. So these socks are not for me because they are too long in the foot, because I didn't want to break up the pattern, so I had to finish a repeat, and that meant that these are a bit too long for me, but I can always gift them. So that is my FOs, except for one thing, and this is a test knit, and I asked the designer and it was okay for me to show them on my podcast. I always check when I do a test knit to make sure that the designer doesn't want to keep this a secret. And it's these, and I think they're so beautiful. When I saw this on Yarn Pond, I decided I just had to knit them. The designer is Joanne Bint from the Snowy Thistle knit. And I knit these in my Fine Merino DK in the colorway Grenadine. And the Fine Merino DK is, I have discontinued that, so but I think I have another skein of Grenadine if someone feels inspired. I have several skeins of Fine Merino DK left. This is my first pair of DK fingerless mitts, and I've used them a couple of times, and they are really nice because of the pattern. They sit really snugly around your wrist and hand. So I love these. And I might knit another pair. I forgot to tell you the pattern name is In This Together. It might be a working title, but I think she's going to keep the name. I forgot to show you something that's really sweet with these mitts. I don't know if you could tell, but there's a heart on the thumb. And it might look complicated, but it's not complicated. I had to use the pattern all the time, but it's easy cables. It's just the way she distributed the cables on the mitts that make them look really complicated. So that's my FOs. And I just have to take a sip of water. I showed you this last time. It was a present from my friend Sue in Canada. It's from Knit Swag. And she got one for herself as well, in her colors. Because pink and purple is kind of my colors. And her colors are green and autumn colors. Autumn colors we can agree on. But I'm not too keen on green. There I go, rhyming again. So those were my FOs, except for some weaving FOs. And now I'm going to put in a little video of me talking about loom and my projects. So I bought myself an Ashford knitter's loom. The reason why I chose the knitter's loom is because I can fold it over and store it in a bag, and that's more practical because I can't have it set up all the time. Because we live in a small apartment, so I can't have a designated place for weaving. And these are my first trials. I used Drops Charisma. The first one I did a black warp and loads of different colors for the weft. And the second one I did the opposite. I striped the warp and I used only black for the weft, except for this stripe where I tried making sort of a tartan pattern. And I still wasn't getting far from perfect result, but I decided I wanted to start using my hand dyed anyway. I ordered heddle for fingering weight yarn, and I started a scarf. And because this is far from perfect, the edges are quite uneven, this is for me. For those of you who remember my boxy, this is the skein I had left over. It's deep end by hedgehog fibers, and the warp is a skein of undyed silver sparkle. So this is my first project that is actually going to be used for something. The other two I might just sew together and use as a blanket of sorts. Maybe I should weave up some more like these and make a bigger blanket. But I think the next project will be cotton. Cotton for the warp, and dyed cotton for the warp, and different colors for the weft. Maybe for towels or for the table runner. We'll see what I come up with. And now I can show you the rest of my whips. I have 2 sweater whips as well, but they're hibernating. One of them because the yarn is dark grey and I'm waiting until the light is better to continue with it, because it's a textured pattern and it's difficult to see the difference between knits and purls when the yarn is dark and there's not enough light. The other is a love note that I'm knitting with my own single ply. I was thinking of using it as a sample, but I've decided not to have the single ply anymore because it's a really slow seller. So I'm taking it up. I might take it back into the shop, but one of the reasons I'm not having single ply anymore is because I've decided to only use one yarn supplier. It's a small business and I want to support small businesses whenever I can, and all my other yarn bases I get from him now. And I have a big order coming from him, hopefully not too long, and some exciting news might be a result from that, because he was out of 100 gram skeins of Polldale sock, and he suggested some replacements. He had 50 gram skeins of Polldale, and that's wonderful because I have 20 gram skeins of Polldale, so that means my sock sets will be Polldale instead of platinum. And he also had BFL sock yarn, and he had some high twist merino sock yarn, and I ordered both for a trial run. I'm only keeping one of them, I think. There's a limit to how many different sock yarns I can have in my shop. I'm just a small batch dyer, and I have to sell some yarn as well because I have a limited capacity in my storage space. So I'm trying out both the high twist merino and the BFL nylon. But I already have Polldale and Corriedale, so I'm not sure if BFL maybe is redundant, because I know BFL is a more well-known base than Polldale is, but I prefer Polldale. I think it's softer than BFL, so that's why I'm going to keep my Polldale, no matter what. And my Corriedale is non-superwash, and that's also popular. Lots of people want non-superwash. So high twist is really fun to knit with. I really love knitting with high twist merino, so I might keep the high twist. And I suddenly remembered something I was going to talk about up front, but I can do it now. And I got a question, and it was kind of a good question, so I wanted to answer it on the podcast. Somebody asked me, because there are loads of Norwegian podcasters that podcast in Norwegian, and somebody asked me, why don't you do that? Why do you podcast in English when English is your second language? And so here's the explanation. First of all, I myself started watching podcasts in English, and I hadn't seen any Norwegian podcasts, so I thought that if I did it in English, I would have a bigger audience. And the other thing is, and of course I do, because I do it in English. The other thing is 90% of my customers are abroad. So if I want to communicate with my customers, I have to do it in English. So that's the easy explanation to why I do this in English. My Instagram is English, my Facebook page is in English, everything I do is in English. And that's because most of my customers are abroad. So now you know, that's why I podcast in English. And maybe now I can get back to talking about my knitting. I just suddenly remembered that somebody asked me that question. And I'm considering opening a thread in Ravelry and ask me anything thread, and we'll see what I do with those questions. Some I might answer in Ravelry, some I might think is too personal, so I don't want to answer them, and some I might answer on the podcast. If I feel that they're interesting, the answer might be interesting to more than one person. My husband might also join me for a bonus episode, because I wanted to do the Fiber Friends tag with him. I don't know if you remember, because we would be kind of late to the party, but a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, several podcasters bullied their husbands into getting on camera with them and answering some questions about crafting and stuff, and I've always enjoyed those episodes. So, and Hobby is he says it's okay with him, he can always come with me. And I have an ulterior motive when it comes to that, because I feel kind of awkward talking into the camera while he's in the room, and if I kind of introduced him on camera, he could be a more integral part of my vlogging. So it would be easier for me to vlog during summer holidays, because he's already been on the podcast, if you know what I mean. So that's me going out on a tangent again. That's what happens when you never meet anybody. The only people I socialize with is Hubby and our neighbor. And she's kind of in our bubble, because she lives next door, and we get together all the time. So and she hasn't got a lot of contacts outside of the home as well. So my son is living in a bigger city. He's living in Tromsø, but they haven't had a lot of cases lately, and he's living kind of in a suburb to Tromsø, and he's also working in the same suburb, so he feels safe, and we feel safe, and he's been tested, we've been tested, so he's coming here to stay here for a week. I don't know why I repeated that. I already told you that. I was talking about me not socializing. I'm an introvert, so I don't socialize a lot when it's not a pandemic on either. But as I said to somebody yesterday, it's nice to decide for yourself when to be antisocial instead of being pressured into being antisocial. I was going to show you my whips. I think I've said everything I wanted to say about my FOs. I forgot to tell you the yarn for the Dale socks. This is Ginger Snap, and the colorway is Shimmer, and you can tell they're sparkly. There was a mini with this sock yarn as well, but because this sock yarn is tonal, I decided I wanted to save the mini for something else. I don't know why or what yet, but I've saved the mini for something else. So I'll show you my sock whips first. This whip is in a bag from Sue in Canada. She made this. She showed me this fabric, and I asked her, can I please have a bag in that fabric? Because it's one of my favorite works of art and Doctor Who in the same fabric, so I needed it. And these are my Afterthought self-striping socks. I finished one sock, and this is blowing out a bit because it's more neon than it shows on camera. That's the only thing I miss with my iPad now, because the iPad was much better at colors, the iPad camera. And the colorway is Drunk Unicorn, so I of course have a unicorn progress keeper on them, and that is from the Cornrow Craft, and it's a sparkly unicorn. And the colorway, as I said, Drunk Unicorn. I forgot to move the progress keeper over to my second sock, but this is how far I've gotten on that. And because these are Afterthought socks, they're perfect for car knitting, because I don't have to count rows or anything, I just knit. And when it's self-striping, I don't count rows anyway, I count stripes. And for the first time, I've tried a different heel and toe for my Afterthought socks. It's the umbrella toe, and you can't see it because it's the umbrella toe and the umbrella Afterthought heel by Kay Jones. The only thing I'm a bit worried about, because this heel fits perfectly on my foot, so I might continue using this as my Afterthought heel. Problem is, I think it's using a bit more yarn than my normal Afterthought heel, so I'm a bit terrified that I might not have enough yarn in a 20 gram mini for the second Afterthought heel. As you can see in the yarn, the same color is in the yarn. You have that yellow in the yarn as well. So if I have enough, I might start the heel, but it's a kind of a different yellow, so I'm starting with the mini, and if I run out, I'll use a bit of yellow from the stripy. But the yarn is area 51, by the way. But it was a 50 grams gain, because me and Sue, we have this thing where we, if we get some self-striping, and if I love some self-striping that she's got, She uses 50 grams and sends me the other half, and I do the same for her. So she sent me 3 different 50 gram skeins of self-striping, and I'm not sure which episode it was, but I showed you everything she sent me in that care package. I think it's 2 episodes ago. So that's my first sock whip. My second sock whip hasn't seen any action since I showed you last, and this is also a bag from Sue. This is an Hermione's Everyday Sock, and the yarn is Twinkly Knits, and this yarn had been in my stash for a while, so I finally used it. So that's my second sock whip. And the last whip is the project I have been knitting on. And it's in my Sharon from Security bag that I got from a friend of mine in the US called Dora. And this is, and I'm actually not in the middle of a row. It's a miracle. This is the Slipping Tiles by Stephen West. It's kind of wrinkly because it's been pushed down into a project bag that is starting to get a bit small, so I have to exchange it for a bigger one, I think. This is the center panel of the shawl. It's a really fun construction, and I love the texture of this. Stephen West has all those good ideas for fun textures. And the progress keeper on this is another one from Corner of Craft. Trying to focus on it. Hobby always giggles when... giggles, that didn't sound very manly. But he actually started to watch some podcasts with me. And he always... it's the focus thing that we all do, and he thinks that's so funny. The yarn I'm using for this is, yes, I bought 5 balls more than I needed for this sweater, because when the yarn is kind of cheap, I always buy 4 or 5 balls more than the pattern than I need according to the pattern, to be 100% sure that I don't run out. And I had 5 balls left when I finished the sweater, and so I'm using this as the main color. And I had 2 single ply skeins that were supposed to be plum jam, but the first layer didn't come out right. So instead of trying to make it plum jam, I like the color. It's kind of a raspberry red. So I decided I would use those skeins for something for myself. And that's what I'm doing. I'm using them as a contrast color in this shawl. So that's my third whip. And aside from the hibernating sweater whips, that's all I got for whips, and I've shown you my loom and what I'm weaving on that. So I think we're over into show and tell, and I have some goodies. Hubby bought me a subscription. So the subscription is Nora George's Harry Potter blanket club, where you can choose what you get from every month. You have 10 gram minis, you can choose 20 gram minis, you can have a full skein with them or not. And I decided to go for the 20 gram minis and no full skein, because I'm not going to use these for a blanket, I think. I'm going to hoard these for a bit and see, after I've had a few months of them, see what I get inspired to make. And I'm just looking for this that came with them, so I can tell you what the colorways are. You have, this is Eyes as Green as a Fresh Pickled Toad. This one is Cho Chang. And this one is Madame Puddifoot's Tea Rooms. And this one is Romelda's Chocolates. And this is Enchanted Galleons. And you can see she even has a special label for these with 9 3/4 in the O. So this is really, and this month is called the Wizarding Valentine's. So I really love these. And I suddenly remembered this is a blanket club, it's a mystery club, and this is the February skeins. Probably because I am in Norway, I'm one of the last people to get this, but just in case, I'm going to put a spoiler alert poster before I start talking about this, so that anyone that hasn't gotten there yet can avoid seeing this if they don't want to. And the rest of my show and tell is a gift from Liz, Sue's friend and my friend. She's the co-host. Sue and Liz are hosting the podcast Distant Stitches. I would recommend that you check them out. I'll link their podcast down below. And she was my secret Santa. And yes, I know, it's February. Thing is, she was really stressed in December and was afraid I wouldn't get my Christmas present before Christmas. And then I told her, just relax. I would actually prefer getting it in January or February, because January and beginning of February is the toughest time of the year for me. I always feel a bit down and a bit depressed, and knowing that a package was on its way from Canada would actually help. So she waited until after Christmas sending it to me. And it's perfect because it really did cheer me up. And I'll let you know what she bought me in addition to what I'm going to show you. She also sent me David's tea, of course. A really nice one. I think it's called Honeycrisp Apples. I think that's what it was called. And she sent me a tea infuser and a bag of coffee, because I've been talking about, because we have this chat group, and I was telling the ladies that I really struggled getting decent decaf coffee, because I struggle getting to sleep, probably because I'm menopausal. I suppose that's why, because I've slept like a baby all my life. And so I had to switch to decaf coffee after dinner, just in case the caffeine had anything to do with it. I think it's hormones, to be honest with you, but I don't want to risk it. So I have been looking for decaf coffee that didn't taste awful, and she sent me a bag of Canadian coffee. It's called Bridgehead. I tried it yesterday and it was delicious. And I told her, what if I can't live without Bridgehead coffee? And she said, I think they ship internationally. But Sue has volunteered to be my mule. So I buy the coffee. She sends it to me when she's sending me stuff. Because me and Sue, we keep sending each other stuff all the time. So I have a a bin where I keep stuff that I'm going to send Sue, and she does the same. So we keep sending each other stuff. So that was I think that was the non-knitting related stuff. So now we're going to get into the knitting stuff. She of course sent me a skein of yarn, and this is a Canadian dyer, Ancient Arts, in the base Socknado, and she decided this had to live with me because it's very, very, very me. It's bright colors and it's speckles, and this is going to be wonderful socks, and these are of course going to be for me. And I've already decided that I think I'm going to dye up some pink for the heel and toe and cuff. And the colorway name is amazing. I met Steve in the West and I liked it. And when you see the colors, you understand why this colorway is named after Steve in the West. And it's snagged on my knitting jewelry. So this is the yarn she sent me. She also sent me a sock bag. And this is from Atelier Nekosuki. And Sue has also sent me one of her bags. And again, Liz decided this needed to come live with me because it has cats on it and it's purple. So this is also perfect. And it smells like coffee because it's been staying with a bag of coffee in a box for some time. So it smells, but I love the smell of coffee, so not a problem. And she also sent me some bits and pieces. She sent me some point protectors. So she's been paying attention in the chat group because I said I didn't have these and I've never had one. I had point protectors. So she sends me point protectors. I also were telling them that I couldn't get a needle gauge in Norway with half sizes, or what you call it, like 2.25, 2.75. Those sizes aren't on Norwegian needle gauges because we only use 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and so on. So she sends me a needle gauge with all the different. So now I can actually, because I have used 9-inch circulars for my socks, and they always have the dimensions on the needles, but I can't read that. It's almost impossible to read that. So now I can actually measure my sock needles. So this is going to get a lot of use. And she sent me a Haya 9-inch circular, 3.5 millimeter, because she knows I love 9-inch circulars, and when I knit sweaters, I always wish I had 9-inch circulars for the bottom part of the sleeves and the cuffs. And I knit a lot of sweaters from fingering weight yarn, and that means I need 3.25, 3.5, those sizes in 9-inch circulars. I bought myself a 3.25, but I didn't have 3.5. So thank you, Liz. Now I have a 3.5. And that's my show and tell. I have yarn coming. So hopefully in 2 weeks I'll be able to show you some more goodies. But I'm not buying any yarn at the moment because I'm going to Tromsø. And as I mentioned, one of my favorite yarn stores. And I'm saving up yarn money for that. I'm guessing a sweater quantity. They don't sell hand-dyed. They only sell commercial yarn. But a sweater quantity of hand-dyed isn't within my budget anyway. They sell Drops Nord at that yarn store. but it's more expensive in the shop than online. But hubby told me yesterday, I think you should support the store in Tromsø and buy it at a higher price, because it's still not expensive. And that was kind of a proud moment for me. But then again, his wife is an indie maker, so he knows how important supporting indie makers and small businesses are. So he wanted me to wait and buy it in Tromsø. So the only thing left to show you now is the shop update for Sunday. As I was saying, not a big shop update because of tax season. But what I have is I have some salmon sushi on platinum sock. This used to be called Arctic Maki, but I decided that I wanted to change it into salmon sushi. I have this thing about alliterations anyway. So that's salmon sushi on platinum sock. I'm kind of being an optimist, and I have dyed up some Arctic Spring. I know we're only in February, but I needed some colors. So I've dyed up some Arctic Spring, and I've dyed it up on Gold Sport and Polldale sock. So that's coming into the shop on Sunday. I've dyed up some Purple Rain on XR Merino DK. That's the only DK I'm going to have in the shop, because it's 80-20 merino nylon, so it's really versatile. It's really soft. It's a perfect sweater yarn, but you can also knit socks with it because it's got nylon in it. And I've dyed up some Monet on my Corriedale non-superwash. And I've dyed up some Silver Lining on Polldale. I should have brought the socks I knit with Silver Lining. I put a picture up what this looks like knit up. And I've dyed up a couple of sock sets of Gatineau Girl. That's the colorway I named off for my friend Sue, because she lives in Gatineau, Quebec. So that's a sock set, that's on platinum sock. And the last thing I'm going to show you is something I dyed up on the new base. Because I now can get the Polldale, grey Polldale. It's grey because it's 85-15 and the nylon is black, so the yarn is grey. And this is Resilience, and I've dyed it up like I always dye it up. The only difference is that the yarn was grey to begin with, so I didn't have to dye the yarn grey first. Okay, so the grey is a solid in this Resilience. It's a tonal on my other Resilience, but I like the way this looks. So this is how the Resilience colorway is going to look from now on. I'm going to dye it up on this grey Polldale. And this is really soft, so it's a really good sweater yarn. I might put up this undyed in the shop, but for the time being I don't have a lot in stock, so I want to dye on it. I'm not sure what colorways I'm going to dye up on grey. I might make some colorways especially for this yarn. If I dye this in tonals on top of grey, I'm going to get some really dark muted colors that would look really nice. So that's what I'm thinking doing with this grey. But I had to try Resilience because Resilience is dyed on top of grey. So that's the shop update for Sunday. So now I've been through the knitting stuff and shop updates, and I'm going to check my show notes to see if I forgot anything. No, I haven't. So we're going to talk about Mal's. We have the year-long Arctic Crafts make-along that's going in my Ravelry group, and that's for anything you knit with using my yarn. It doesn't have to be all my yarn. If you knit a sweater and you use my yarn for the contrast color in the yoke, for example, you can enter it in the thread for the Arctic Crafts year-long make-along. And the next price will be drawn at the end of March, because I draw quarterly prices from that thread, and the price is a skein of your choice from my Etsy shop. And I can also tell you I did an Instagram TV. I started to do those from time to time. So if you want to see more of me, you can always follow me on Instagram, and then you get notified when I put out a new Instagram TV blog or something. And I did the drawing for the Treat Yourself Mal on Instagram TV, but in case, all the winners have contacted me, and the prizes are on their way. But in case you were wondering and didn't see that episode, the winners were Swims Upstream. I only say the Ravelry names. Swims Upstream, Jasmine Davila, and Ange Ship. Ange Y Ship. I'll put the names down below. And the pattern prize on Instagram was won by V Shaw. So now now you know that as well. I have a couple of prizes in mind, so I might do a make-along or a giveaway, something like that. I was thinking about doing a giveaway for episode 50, but then I decided that I would rather wait and do a giveaway when I reach 1,000 subscribers. That might take ages, but I'd rather do a proper giveaway for my 1,000 when I get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm playing with my hair all the time. I'm going to really love getting rid of some of it. So, new make-alongs. I was talking about make-alongs, not my hair. I'm planning on some new make-alongs. I'm not sure about what theme, if I'm going to do it for a certain garment, for example, or if I'm going to do it for a special occasion. But I was thinking of doing, and this is going to be a make-along, I think, and it's going to run in May, from the 1st of May until the 31st of May, and it's going to be called Red, White and Blue. And the reason why I'm going to do a make-along in May is May 17th is Constitution Day in Norway, and the Norwegian flag is red, white and blue. So I thought, why not do a make-along for May 17th and call it red, white and blue. I was also thinking starting it April 1st and running it until May 17th. That would give you more time if you want to knit a sweater or some bigger garment, blanket, anything. But so you know, in April or May I will be starting a red, white and blue make-along. So you can plan a project if you have a project. You don't, and I'm going to, at least 2 of the colors has to be in the project. You can't enter a red hat, blue mittens. It has to be at least 2 of the colors of the red, white and blue. And if you make something that's red, white and blue, you get 2 entries. I have to write this down because this is coming out as a free stream of consciousness as I'm sitting here. All the best ideas do that. So I have to write this down afterwards so I remember. and let's just say April 1st. So April 1st, red, white and blue, make along. So now you can start planning for it. And if anybody wants to donate a prize for that, go ahead. I know what the price from me is going to be, but I'm not going to show it until April 1st. So now I'm done with everything. And I'll see you on Instagram probably before my next podcast. So instead of going on about things that don't interest you, I'll just finish it here and tell hubby I'm done recording so he can come home and get me so we can do some shopping for the weekend. So I'll see you later, and I hope you have a really nice weekend. Bye bye.